Pregame action over in Grand Rapids. This is the game 2 of the night that's slotted to start in about 10 minutes. So we're going to bring you the action here, and then we'll update you as much as possible on the game in Cincinnati. But this one, exciting one here. It's going to be Grand Rapids Ole hosting Lansing City. Jake, this is an exciting game for both squads today.
Yeah, I'm excited for this as well. I am currently wearing a Lansing City jersey and a Grand Rapids Ole jacket to stay as neutral as possible, but two clubs that I have some personal connections to, so nights like tonight are tough, Jared, because I've got friends on both sides of the ball. But Grand Rapids Ole is a team I'm very, very familiar with. A lot of what I've done to get to this point, to where I'm participating in commentary, helping with things like what we're doing here with YouTube, started with Grand Rapids Ole at a club level and then grew into what we're doing as a league. So these guys have been so integral to the growth of futsal in not only Western Michigan, but in the country as a whole. And Ole has a crazy high reputation for their skill level and their perennial prowess. And then Lansing City, of course, with the famous name from the national team like Jeremy Kleppball, and then to have the Lansing Arena is one of the best facilities in the country. These are two clubs that really, really do it right, and I cannot wait to showcase them tonight for everybody.
Certainly a very exciting one that we have coming up. Again, this one slotted to start in about 10 minutes. And for those of you that are expecting Jinga versus Detroit Imperial, our feed is currently completely black from them. We have no feed currently, so we're going to be switching over to this game as it will start soon, and we'll try to keep you updated as much as possible for that one. While we have a second, let's take a look at the current standings for the FCS. Right now, Detroit Imperial and Jinga FS, those two on the top. They are currently playing in Cincinnati right now, and Detroit Imperial trying to keep their unbeaten streak going this year. Grand Rapids Ole near the bottom of the table, but they have one tie, and Jake, that was against their in-town rivals, Midwest.
Yeah, that was an absolute barn burner, to say the least, as Grand Rapids Ole actually getting out ahead by 3 goals twice. Rivals Midwest clawing back. I've mentioned the never say die attitude of Detroit, but Midwest definitely matches that kind of attitude as far as how they handle games, how they handle business. So Ole with 1 single point coming out of that match, but their first home game in homeschool building in Grand Rapids in Wyoming, Michigan. This is a absolute fortress to play in. You see the crowd and how big this crowd is showing up for the home opener. These people in Grand Rapids eat, sleep, breathe futsal, and I think it's one of the best places for futsal in the United States as far as fandom's concerned. So they got a little taste with a tie, and I think that teased everybody to wanting more. And you can tell by the turnout in person tonight that they're excited to see 3 points for their team.
And also, on the other side, Lansing City also seeking their three points. They have got 1 win, but 2 losses, one against Jinga, and most recently inside the Lansing Arena against Midwest. Gerard, you were there along with me. They went down 6 goals early and then rallied back to win the scoreline 10-6 after that point, but ultimately falling short. What can Lansing City do tonight to try to not go down so much early in the game?
Really, it's about starting strong. It's one of the things that they miss, not having Jack Fisher there. Jack Fisher's with them tonight, and so we hope that they maintain their composure, maintain their shape, and start strong, maintaining possession early on. So in that game against Midwest, one of the things that they continually did was lose possession and were out of place, and they weren't able to respond to the quick attacks. They ended up having to pull the goalie, Ethan Castaneda, pretty early in that game. Conrad Gonzalez came in and did a fantastic job, but it really was just a measure of too little, too late. They did a fantastic job with the energy in the building. It's one of the things I was thinking about as Jake was talking about really what it's like to attend a futsal game, and Lansing City and Midwest truly put on a show. Lansing City did end up losing that game, but if they played the way they did in the second half, watch out tonight, Ole.
So we get things set here in Grand Rapids for the game against Lansing City. Grand Rapids Olay hosting Lansing City. We're going to cut to a brief break here, and then we're going to be coming back with the kickoff for this game. So don't go anywhere.
Of the Futsal Champions Series. Our second match of the evening sees the home opener for Olay Futsal Club as they host Lansing City. Olay left FCS fans craving more after a thrilling 6-6 draw in their opening campaign match against rivals Midwest United. Reinforcing their squad over the offseason, this team looks poised to challenge the FCS field for a championship run. As the founding club in FCS, Lansing City find themselves an appropriate first home challenge for the newcomers. They look to turn fortunes around from a 22-goal shootout last week at home. Can this young roster rally from last week and spoil Olay's inaugural FCS opener? Or will the Grand Rapids side show why experience counts on the court? Olay Futsal Club hosts Lansing City now.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Homeschool Building here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Grand Rapids Olay is hosting Lansing City, who just got off playing another Grand Rapids team, and this time they're squaring off against last year's NFPL champs, Grand Rapids Olay. Looking to get their first win after tying with Midwest United. That's what's going on tonight. I'm Jared Kleppel along with Gerard Ascani, Jake George in the studio in Ohio. Jake, this is a key matchup for Lansing. It's kind of a test to see where their team is at currently.
What better test than Grand Rapids Olay, a well-known club, and not only in the Midwest but across the country. This is a team that has drawn the allure of other teams anytime they travel. I think personally of stories I've heard from teams on the East Coast that asked me about Olay, and they say, "Man, we were at this tournament. We couldn't help but watch those guys after we got knocked out. We found ourselves cheering for them." So this is a team that really has a pedigree. And this is a very tough place to play. Homeschool building in Wyoming, Michigan, really tough place to play because you see the size of this crowd. One of the most passionate futsal crowds, I think, in the United States. The young Lansing City squad is going to be learning a lot tonight about the kind of pressures you can see in a facility like this.
And on the Olay side, they are just getting their season going. They had one game a few weeks ago that was away at Aquinas College against Midwest United. And tonight, they're hosting Lansing City. They're playing a game at home for the first time, Jake, this year.
First ever home opener in FCS, first ever home game in FCS. It's a monumental night within Grand Rapids as we see Sammy Esquivel on the ball right now, one of the most famous players here on the squad with his brother Lito. And these guys are going to be putting on quite a show. I can't wait to see how they handle Lansing. First time these teams have faced each other as far as first team squads go in over 5 years. So this is really, really a big night for everybody.
Going over the starting lineups for both sides. First for Grand Rapids Olay, we have Johan Vasquez, Cesar Martinez, Frankie Mendoza, Sammy Esquivel, and Lito Esquivel on that side. On the Lansing City side, in goal, Ethan Castaneda. We have Jack Fisher, Luciano Cernuda, Jeremy Kleppel, and I believe it's Jonah Timblow who's going to be rounding out that lineup for tonight.
And now we'll bring you into Jenga and Detroit Imperial to take a look at what's going on over there. Right now, the score's 3-2. We will bring you back to Lansing and Olay.
Here's Kleppel bringing the ball up for Lansing.
And one of the things, it looks like Jonah Timblow didn't actually end up making the start. Santiago Contreras has made the start tonight, and it's an interesting formation to see where he ends up playing out. He's not a traditional pivot, especially in the sense of Lansing City tends to play a very physical, tall pivot. That's how Jonah's the point man up there, and that's not the body type that Santiago has. He's a lot more of a finesse player, so it'll be interesting to see how they play out. But it looks like they've already subbed him out early in the game.
Typically, we're seeing the likes of Jonah Timblow or Trezor Crispane. That's going to be one of the players, Jake, that Lansing City is without tonight. And I'm sure both sides are going to feel the lack of presence that Trezor brings to the court.
Yeah, think about the impact he had in that Midwest game. We couldn't stop saying his name there for a minute. He really sparked this Lansing side and their comeback. And when we think about the interview with Jeremy Kleppel after the game as well, and how he mentioned, hey, look, you take out those first few minutes, that first 5 to 10 minutes, as we were experimenting with some different strategies that had unfortunately clearly didn't work out. But that's a completely different game in that case. So Crispane was so integral to that shift in the momentum, in that comeback that started in the first half with a bit of a goal onslaught. So I'm curious to see how this team adjusts and who's going to be that person that steps up into Crispane's shoes tonight to create that same spark.
Lansing City certainly has several players that could step into that role, possibly most notably Jeremy Kleppel, a player, Gerard, that you cannot ignore on the futsal court.
You absolutely cannot. He proves week in and week out that anywhere on the court he is dangerous. Two of the most incredible goals we saw last week. One was off a volley from a corner. Another one, he was dribbling away from the goal, away from the players, and he fires it across his body. Truly, as you would say, Jared, a rocket across the field. And it was amazing to see that, to go from one side of the court to the other.
And now it will be Lansing City bringing the ball up across the half line. Kleppel now with it on the near side. Takes a touch inside, looking at his options. Goes right across to Fisher. Excuse me, that's Elijah Vu. Looking across the court to Luciano Cernuda. He buries it for Lansing City. Goal number 1. Luciano Cernuda puts Lansing ahead 1-0.
Speaking of incredible goals, if you haven't seen the highlight already, Luciano maybe had the goal of the year a couple of weeks ago, and it's so great to see him back. Lansing City truly missed him last week, and he already has left his mark on this game.
Less than 5 minutes into this one, Luciano Cernuda already finding the back of the net for Lansing City. As Gerard mentioned, there is a highlight that you really should watch if you have not seen it. Possibly the best goal, certainly the best goal I've seen all year, coming from Luciano Cernuda. How will Grand Rapids Olay respond? They have it right now. Looking for a ball across. This one a little bit dangerous. As Conrad Gonzalez is there, making the start for Lansing City tonight. We typically see the younger player, Ethan Castaneda, in goal. But they've both been playing in that goal position. I had a chance to catch up with Coach Matt Alashari for Lansing City earlier. He talked about that dynamic between the keepers, and really they see Ethan Castaneda as a young player. He's still developing, and there's talent on both sides. So that's why we're seeing as just on time right there, Conrad Gonzalez with a great save, hitting that one away. It's going to be their first. I thought it was going to be a corner, but it's going to be a keeper restart instead. Maybe hit the post on that one. So Lansing City restarts. But Grand Rapids Olay with another quick one. Number 18, Chris Mendez. Excuse me, that was number 10, Cesar Alayo, with the shot that goes just wide. Ooh, another one.
Shot by Josh Robeson. He just came into the game for Lansing City as well. They're making some early substitutions. We're less than 5 minutes into the game. We've already seen them make 4 subs.
And here's a shot from Kleppel, making its way towards goal, forcing a save from Grand Rapids goalkeeper. But now they're on the attack, a ball inside.
Gerard, you mentioned Robeson. He's someone that I've got my eye on as the city season progresses, because I feel like he's right on the cusp of some really special stuff. We've seen him have some opportunities on goal that haven't quite gone his way, but he often finds himself in the right place at the right time. So I'm really curious to see how his season progresses and if he turns into an offensive unit for this Lansing side that they really rely on moving forward for some consistency.
Well, Jake, I can share some anecdotal information for you about Josh. I happened to be at the tryout at Lansing City, and I got to watch him, and he truly stood out. It was amazing to see the way that he played. I got to talk to him after the tryout, and it turns out that he's new to futsal. So he's traditionally an outdoor player, and it was the winter. He wanted to get into the gym, stay around the ball. And to see his transition from the outdoor game to the indoor game, and the fact that somebody like you that has such a history and legacy in futsal and in the community that can see his talent already, that says a lot about Josh.
The save coming from Conrad Gonzalez. He's able to hang on to that one as play restarts. Lansing City currently with it. Facing somewhat of a high press. I think you would call that a high press from the Olay side. And now they are in possession.
Keep an eye on this Olay squad. You know, like you said, Jared, we're seeing some press from them. They're not afraid to get forward. They often jump back and forth between, as we see a foul here for against Lansing in favor of Olay in a dangerous place. I mentioned while we were watching the Jenga broadcast that Olay is one of the most dangerous set-piece teams in FCS, them and Detroit Imperials. So even though this doesn't look like it's right on goal, anything from Olay in the opposing team's half is always dangerous. But this Olay side, they're all about sticking to the game plan. I've seen this team be down by as much as 4 and stay calm, stay cool, stay collected, and end up winning a game. So watch out for them to just stay very cool and keep things moving. There's never a safe place on the scoreline for an opposing team versus Olay.
And they have it currently down 1 to Lansing City off of the goal from Luciano Cernuda. About 3 minutes into this one. Timble has it, a little chip from Kleppel. Looking for Robertson. It's not there. Here comes Sammy Esquivel. Excuse me, that's not Sammy Esquivel.
Actually, Danny Diaz. And he has a twin brother as well that we don't see in action at the moment, but these guys were so integral to a championship run that we saw from Olay in a different league a couple years ago, and they were really a big part of the offense. So keep an eye on the Diaz brothers as they play for Olay this year and see what they can do to put goals in the net.
Danny Diaz going to scoop it up there. He was looking for a foul, none given. Lansing City clears it out there. Josh Robeson clearing that one out.
The referees there did a pretty good job of letting the players play and not calling anything on that. Olay definitely wanted a foul there, but I didn't see anything. David didn't see anything. There wasn't anything there.
Lansing City making a couple subs. We see Luciano Cernuda entering the court once again, the lone goal scorer of the night. Little chip coming all the way over to David Saltzman, one of the standout players from the previous game. Gerard, he was on the floor quite a bit as we have a chance here for Lansing City. Is Cernuda going to get another one? Wow, a turn and a strike. Goes off the post for Cernuda. The second time he touches the ball is almost goal, and the follow-up by Lansing City is off the post. It's going to be a corner kick. Nothing of that there. Wow. Cernuda steps on the court, Gerard, and we almost have goal number 2.
Energy, energy, energy. He's always bringing the energy, bringing the excitement. He just comes back onto the court, already gets another shot on goal. Going back to Saltzman, he spends his time on the floor talking about energy. Saltzman brings the energy to another level. It's really amazing to see the commitment that he brings to the game, the effort, the intensity. Every time he's in, whether he's keeper, whether he's in the front court, the back court, it doesn't matter whether he has the ball or doesn't, his energy is at another level.
We're going to have our first foul of the game against Grand Rapids Olay. Both teams with one foul. Saltzman over this one. He's going to go all the way back to his keeper, Gonzalez. Gonzalez looking in the middle to Jack Fisher. It's beyond him. Now Olay with a chance. Top of the arc, finding the back of the net. That's number 8. Not on my roster sheet. Sorry, number 8. I want to shout you out. I don't have your name. But you're going to have the first goal for Grand Rapids Olay. It's 1-1.
Yeah, it was a pretty challenging transition there for Lansing City. Once they lost possession, they couldn't find the shape again, and Olay just made some really great passes to open up the court, put it in the back of the net.
So 1-1 now here in Grand Rapids. Olay drawing even with Lansing City. But now Cernuda in that pivot position, so dangerous when he turns. Now it's Kleppel trying to find space down the line. Ends up losing it. Now another player hits the court. Cernuda having a chance there. That was number 10, Cesar Alayo, going down, looking for a foul. None given. But it will be a keeper restart for Grand Rapids Olay.
Is he keeping stats? Is he keeping stats? Aaron? What's Aaron doing?
It is going to be a keeper restart through Frankie Mendoza in the back. This one's going to be over the sideline. Lansing City will restart. It's going to be Kleppel with the restart here. In the attacking half. Going back to Saltzman. Back to Kleppel. He's got Timblow on the far side. Taking his defender on 1v1. Some space in the inside. A strike. A good one. Forcing a nice save out of Frankie Mendoza. Really the second time he has been tried tonight and been called on to make a fantastic save.
It's been interesting all season to see how teams are choosing to play specifically against Jeremy Kleppel. He has a really strong leg. they tend to close down the middle. What we saw right there from Olay is that they left the middle open. They were playing them straight up man-to-man. It's going to be interesting if they continue to do that. I think we'll see a lot of shots on goal from Jeremy at the top right there. Let's see how they continue to switch it up or maintain what they're doing.
Lansing City losing the ball here in a dangerous area. Shot from Olay near the top of the arc. Looked like it was number 19, Adrian Diaz. Going to hit the court. Quick corner taken. And that's going to be capitalizing on the quick corner. Number 17 for Grand Rapids, Olay. Goal number 2, catching Lansing City on their heels. Conrad Gonzalez watching that one go into the back of the net. Olay takes the lead, 2-1.
At Olay, patient showing again, looking for their opportunity to strike. They're so known for this and looking for that moment. They're always looking for that moment. And the minute they sense it, they waste no time. And that was a great, a well-taken defense, corner kick against a defense that wasn't quite set. You know, it's that heads-up play that makes futsal so special and makes it so quick. So curious to see what happens from here. Lansing having some great opportunities in their own right on the other side. So curious to see how they bounce back.
Some good defensive play there coming from Cesar Alayo. Couldn't quite see it off the cam, but the way that the crowd reacted, could tell that he made a nice play for them. Olay is going to take possession. They're coming the other way. It's going to be run out of bounds by Jack Fisher. He thought it was going to be their ball, but official says, nope, it's going the other way. So we're going to have a corner kick for Grand Rapids Olay. Comes to the top. Johan Vasquez going backwards. Looking to his keeper. Playing the ball up towards the pivot. That one defended well. Here's Luciano Cernuda for Lansing City. Trying to get a touch over his defender. Fighting with him there and does win a corner. And we're going to have our first timeout of the match. This one's going to be called by Lansing City. With just under 10 minutes to go, it's 2-1. Grand Rapids Olay is on top. I want to take a moment to shout out our sponsor of today's match. Today's match is sponsored by Ally Marketing. If you're looking for business growth, small businesses, medium businesses, large businesses, those that partner with Ally Marketing get the business growth partner they've always been looking for. Ally Marketing is all about changing the marketing experience for business owners. It's like knowing a good friend who knows marketing. You can check out more allymarketing.us. That's ALLY marketing.us, the official marketing partner of the FCS. Ally Marketing, let's be friends. Coming out of the timeout here, Grand Rapids Olay on top 2-1. Timeout called by Lansing City. Jake, what do you think is going on in that huddle for Lansing City?
Well, Lansing's had some great opportunities, but there's just been a little bit of a lack of consistency on keeping the pressure on. But when they do, they've had some great shots on target, like you said. They've put Frankie Mendoza to work a couple of occasions. They've stretched him out twice now. But, you know, Jared, a lot of times in situations like this, we're on a set piece. Sometimes these timeouts are specific to how are we going to do this set piece? Let's draw up a play. I'm curious to see what we see here in the build-up as we reset.
Ball comes over to Klepp on the far side. Get some space on that left foot, and that shot's going to sail high and wide. His third chance of the night. Does not force Mendoza to make a save, but it's going to be restarted in his hands. Quick update for those who are wondering. Currently halftime in the Jinga and Detroit Imperial game. Jinga up in that one, 3-2.
One of the things that's pretty interesting to see just off of both of those corner kicks, we can see very clearly both teams' intentions in this game. Olay is going to be very direct and play straight and quick, and Lansing City is going to be a little more creative and take their time to try to create chances.
That shot from Kleppel, again going high. Restart from Mendoza. They go to the far side. Here is Cesar Martinez, one of the starters for Grand Rapids Olay.
Jake, what do you think that tells us about these teams, that Olay is going to play a little bit more direct and less creative, and Lansing City is going to try to be a little bit more creative with the ball.
I think that both teams are pretty creative in their own right. And the thing about Lansing is we've seen them really try a couple different styles, a couple different plays. And I would imagine that practice during the week has been no different. And Olay is a team that is kind of known for switching tactics mid-game. They stick to a game plan, but that game plan implies two different formations in the change of those formations. So you see them often switch from a 3-1 to a 4-0. And that takes a lot of skill and a lot of trust to pull off. I'm curious to see, especially with some of these counterattack opportunities, what kind of creativity we see from the likes of Jeremy Kleppal, David Saltzman, who could possibly completely change the flow and momentum of a match. And in a situation like this, where Olay's in a high press, like they like to do, create an opportunity for a counterattack where you can overload and have numbers on your side. So really a lot of opportunity for creativity all over the court for both these teams, which is what makes this game so sought after and so exciting, and why so many people have probably circled it on their calendars for the season.
Ooh, almost another one from Cernuda, getting a chance from David Saltzman as Mendoza quickly goes the other way. It looks like we have a goal scored for Olay. Apologies to all the viewers out there. We are also seeing the same feed as you, coming to you from our studio in Lansing. Jake, of course, in the studio in Ohio, so we also have no idea what happened at that goal, but it is goal number 3 for Grand Rapids Olay. I think it's safe to say that, Gerard.
It's safe to say that, and that was as direct a play as you can get, a throw from the keeper up the court to the pivot and in the goal.
Annie and Adrian Diaz are so dangerous on plays like that. They're tall, they're strong, they can set up that play, do the turn and shoot. I did not see the play, but I can only imagine that it was something along those lines, and seeing the body language of the team, it looks like it might have been credited to Danny Diaz there. So these Diaz brothers 2 years ago when they were in this squad were involved in over 3/4 of the goals that were scored by this Olay side, so you cannot leave them out of the conversation as they continue to play here.
Corner coming from Saltzman, looking for another volley for Kleppal. We have seen him hit one of those just a week or so ago.
It really makes me think that Olay saw that same goal as well. That was a very similar, if not exact, play that Crispin sent over to Kleppal as well for the goal last week. And Olay must have seen it, was ready, they were prepared. Great defense.
Will be Kleppal bringing it up for Lansing City now. He's got one defender on him. Looking all the way to Josh Robeson. Getting past one defender, a second one. Can't quite get it, and we're going to have a foul going against Grand Rapids Olay. I didn't see much there. Jake, did you see anything?
Unfortunately, I missed it too. Not quite sure what was on the mind there, but this is a dangerous place for Olay to give up a kick. I've been following Grand Rapids Olay for a few years now, and one thing that's always been the double-edged sword of Olay is the style of their play. They often get into some foul trouble, regardless of how many goals they're up or down. So I would not be surprised that if in the next few minutes we start talking about the chance at some kicks at the 10-meter mark.
That one from Kleppal, taking it for Lansing City. He was looking for Elijah Vu on that far post. No connection there. Olay takes over. Pivot for them now, trying to turn. Robeson is there. That's Adrian Diaz for Grand Rapids Olay. Now Kleppal screaming up the court to make a play defensively. Olay still has it. Now a ball into the pivot again. Right back to him. Kleppal's there. Cernuda collects and now finds Robeson on the far side. Lansing City in control. And that shot going to be going high and wide from Luciano Cernuda.
Jake, it's interesting to see Jeremy playing so high up the court, winning the ball back right here. Jake, what's your take on this deploying Jeremy so far up the court?
Jeremy is such a unique player in the sense that he can really understand the flow of a game and be where he needs to be in a way that is most beneficial to his team. we've seen a couple of instances, maybe not to this extreme up to this point, where Jeremy has stepped forward in opportunities like this, but he's done it in a way that is not detrimental to where he's opening up his team to a counter. And so I would not be surprised to see that Jeremy continues to do this, especially since, down 2 goals, could use some firepower just like this against this Ole side, against a tough Frankie Mendoza who has a unique resume of his own. So with that foot, you can't leave it all the way in the back as a fixo. You got to be able to rotate with the rest of the team, find a way to create those shot opportunities, and I think Jeremy does a great job of that.
Yeah, he definitely does. It's one of the things that's been really interesting that we're seeing, Jared, here, is without having Tressor Chris Payne in today, Jonah Timblow is typically the pivot. He's not been playing that much. He has just come into the game now, but they're really changing up their formation, changing up their style. It's interesting to see.
Some key players missing for Lansing City. That one you're talking about, Tressor Chris Payne. Such a big part of Lansing City getting their engines going in the last one after falling 6-0. He scored 2 goals almost by himself. Certainly a presence that is missed here tonight. And if you've never seen him play, trust me, you would know if he's on the court. You watch long enough, you'll see his aggressiveness, his physicality on the court is second to none as we have the ball going over the end line. Restart coming up for Frankie Mendoza and Ole. Ball up to the pivot, looking for Diaz. It's going to be knocked out of bounds by Leonce Nyasaba for Lansing City. Seen him a couple of times on the court tonight.
And watch out. Saltzman returns.
Saltzman returns, and one of the rare times Kleppel is not on the court for Lansing City.
The ball was moving, so they will lose the opportunity to take that kick.
We've actually, to my surprise, have seen far more of these kinds of infractions, Gerard, than I would like to say I thought we would see at this level. Just the ball's moving or it's not right on the line, and just little details. We almost have another goal for Lansing City. Leonce Nyasaba looking to get his left foot on that one, but it's going to go wide. But we've seen quite a lot of these details in kick-ins go wrong, and it's an easy turnover.
It sure is. And one of the things that is interesting, the differences between outdoor soccer and futsal, we have this kick-in. Instead of a throw-in and outdoor soccer, we have a kick-in.
Ooh, and that's going to be David Saltzman sliding again to save this one. Much to the dismay of the Ole players, they were looking for a handball. But the officials say no handball, play on. David Saltzman spending a lot of his history in futsal as a goalkeeper. And we see Conrad Gonzalez with another great save there.
That's what, game after game, time after time, Saltzman is always putting his body on the line. Whether he's goalkeeper or not, it's amazing to see.
Got to have a no-fear mentality when you put yourself in front of a ball like this, and David Saltzman proves that he has no fear and has nothing but pure passion for the sport.
And Jake, it sounds like we have an update from Jenga.
Yeah, for those of us that started the stream for the Jenga Imperial match, the second half is underway. A couple notable things. Coach Kazuki Tamasawa, who we talked about quite a bit to lead into that first half, is starting the second half for Jenga. So the F League experience finding its way into the FCS court. And in the meantime, Jenga has found the net for the first time in the second half, second time since we left the broadcast. So they are currently up 4-2.
Meanwhile, Ole are on the attack. Have the ball near midcourt. Here's Johan Vasquez. Defended by Robeson for Lansing City. He provides high pressure. He's going to force a turnover. Great defense from Josh Robeson there. Now City coming the other way. Here's Kleppel taking a touch inside. Looking for Nyasaba, but his chip is off the mark, and it's going to be a restart from the hands of Frankie Mendoza for Grand Rapids Ole.
And Nyasaba had just entered the game for Timblow. What's really interesting to see out of Lansing City is they're really playing positionless futsal. Everyone is rotating everywhere on the court. Jake, what's your take on that, this positionless system?
It is a very, very difficult system to run. It not only takes trust, like I've talked about before, but it also takes a lot of talent and understanding. I know personally from trying to coach youth that sometimes the positions of futsal are hard to understand compared to that shift to the outdoor game. And the 4-0 position requires you to understand every position on the court and where you should be in every position on the court. When that's constantly changing, that creates a desire and a need for a lot of futsal knowledge. So when I see teams pull this off, I'm always really impressed.
We saw Saltzman get on the ground again as Gonzalez is going to have to take his turn. Another save from him, resulting in a corner for Grand Rapids Olay. Lito Esquivel going to take this one.
And I'll say this about Conrad Gonzalez. When I was at that tryout with Josh, Gonzalez was in goal for that too, and he definitely captured my eye. He already was on the team, but he was helping out at the tryout, and he does it not only in scrimmages and practices and games. You always will find him flying around the court, laying out, putting his body out there. He's definitely sore after these games.
Here is Olay with an opportunity. They had a 2v1, 2 onto the keeper. That one's going to be going out for a corner kick as we have our second timeout of the half. Grand Rapids Olay taking it this time. Don't forget that you can catch all the FCS action here on YouTube. You can also find it at futsalchampionseries.com/live. And you can follow the FCS along with all of your favorite FCS teams on Facebook and Instagram. So help us grow the great game of futsal here in the United States. futsalchampionseries.com. Also want to take a second to bring you an update from Cincinnati, Ohio. Jake?
Yeah, big update in Cincinnati. Imperial did bring a goal back since the last time we did a goal update to 4-3, but shortly after, we did see a straight red go to the Detroit Imperial coach. So a 5-man squad without any subs, now leaderless as they go through this second half against Jenga. It's 4-3 Jenga.
That one turning out to be an interesting one there. We'll see if we're able to bring you some highlights there. We see the feed coming in. It's still pretty choppy at the moment, so we're going to stay here for now as we get started again on this kick from Grand Rapids Olay. And Jake, it's no stranger to you. Grand Rapids Olay they like to have very specific plays that they run off of these corners and kick-ins, especially after timeouts.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to be a fly on the wall at the FCS AGM over the offseason, and we got to see a little bit of a showcase of all the coaches as they presented things that were important to them to the group and talked about things that could benefit futsal as a group. It's one of those unique moments where the coaches come together, the team owners come together for the betterment of the sport as a whole. And when spending time with Coach Fabian, who I've become familiar with in a number of capacities, Fabian finds those restarts very important as a part of his strategy, particularly, what a great shot there from Jeremy as I speak, but particularly from out of bounds on sideline kick-ins. So a place that you normally don't sweat too much about an actual, set plan that's going to be straight on goal. Of course, that is a part of our sport in a big way, but, maybe not something you're actively thinking about against a team, but with Olay, you better be, because they are always looking for a way to score off those kick-ins.
Cernuda almost placing the ball about 4 meters behind the sideline. Lots of lines on this court. Of course, that blue line all the way around is going to be the boundary lines for tonight. This one coming all the way up past the Olay pivot, and Gonzalez is going to have to clear it away.
And something we talked about earlier today, to see the difference in the way that Olay's playing Kleppel compared to how Jenga did and how successful they were with shutting him down. Olay's not packing the middle. They're letting 1v1, and he's going to keep getting to the middle like that. He's got a wonderful crossover dribble that he can open himself up and get some space to put a shot on goal.
Cross there from Sammy Esquivel, looking for a teammate. Looks like he had one in the area, but unable to connect, and Lansing City will take over. Here's Kleppel facing the high press of Olay with Saltzman. Now the press backing off a little bit. Just kind of maintaining a little pressure. It looks like Ole's not trying to necessarily win the ball with this high press, but just apply that extra stress. Here's Frankie Mendoza restarting from the back. Ole now looking for a cross-court ball. That one's going to be much too far, but it comes back to Cesar Alayo. And a shot. That was a good one, but it did end up being wide. However, Conrad Gonzalez got a hand on it. So it's going to be a corner from Grand Rapids Ole. We'll see what they have drawn up here. 2 players on the sideline. Urbano Romero there, but this one goes straight across goal. Comes back to Cesar Alayo. Defended well by Cernuda. Now Ole looking to find their point of attack. A little ball in. Almost gets through, but Lansing City defend. And they are going to maintain possession here with about a minute left. Cernuda leaves it for Kleppel. His 4 count has started, and he's going to play it in near the half line. Here's Cernuda on the far side. Back to Kleppel. Lots of space in the middle. Little touch and a nice defensive slide blocking the shot of Kleppel. And the crowd loves it.
Always a great crowd in Grand Rapids. These guys love their Ole Futsal Club.
Bad giveaway there from Saltzman. Results in a 2v1. Kleppel screaming back to help out. That opportunity squandered, though, and Lansing City will restart from the back. And Kleppel passes that one right out of bounds. And we'll be back into possession of Ole. They come to the near side. With about 30 seconds left, something happening outside of the camera that we can't see. But it's going to result either some kind of foul. Looks like it's going to be a foul against Lansing City there. Now Kleppel to Saltzman, back to Kleppel. Lansing City possessing. There's Jack Fisher. And now Kleppel on the near side. He's got one in a helping defender there. A left-footed strike after a step over. It's going to make its way past all of the blockage there and go over the end line. Keeper restart for Frankie Mendoza. And that's going to do it for half number 1 here in the homeschool building. Grand Rapids, Michigan. Grand Rapids Ole on top of Lansing, 3-1. Jake, we saw Lansing go up early, but Grand Rapids Ole with 3 unanswered goals.
Ole is just such a machine once they get moving. I think Lansing actually did a great job of slowing the play down against Ole, making their attempts on goal a little less dangerous as the half went on. This is going to be a power struggle throughout the second half, in my opinion. The important thing for Lansing as they look ahead to the second half is keeping this composure, sticking together. You know, there's been a couple moments of some bad giveaways, but for the most part, they've done a good job of working together and making Conrad's job a little bit easier in between the pipes, a little less dangerous shots. But overall, this Ole side sticking to the plan, and they will find their opportunities. So both teams are going to be forcing each other to stay sharp going into the second half.
And Gerard, your thoughts from that first half?
Yeah, you know, something that you talked about earlier, Jared, you were really notating how Ole was backing off. They weren't doing a high press. They weren't doing a low press. They were really just applying the average, moderate amount of pressure to force Lansing City to be more creative, to not be able to have that direct play to goal. And so we did see a lot of really good shots from Lansing City, but they were all from distance. We didn't see a lot of good opportunities inside the arc. And so it's one of the things that I'd like to see from Lansing City in the second half is just figure out how to break down that defense from Ole.
Still to come on the FCS this weekend. You can see right there that first game. That's this game that we're seeing right now, Ole hosting Lansing City. But tomorrow, Ole is going to turn right around and travel to Cincinnati, Ohio to play Jinga, who is also currently playing right now as well. Jake, 2 teams, back-to-back games tomorrow at 3 p.m.
Yeah, 2 teams that are dealing with the physical strain of not only 2 matches in a weekend, but in the case of Ole, some travel. Jinga having the benefit of being able to host both these games. Now, I do have on good authority from Cincinnati that a few of their key players will be missing tomorrow for Jinga. They will also be playing on a different surface than they're accustomed to in a different part of the block due to some scheduling constraints. But it's going to be a very interesting game tomorrow as Ole and Jinga face each other for the first time in 2 years.
And that's going to do it for half number 1. We'll come back in just a little bit with some more halftime thoughts, some stats, and an update on the Jinga in Detroit Imperial game. So don't go anywhere. We got more FCS action coming your way in just a little bit. Hello, everyone. Welcome into our studio here in Lansing, Michigan. I'm Jared Klepp along with Gerard Ascani. And over there, it's Jake George all the way in Ohio. Currently, the game in that top far right corner over there, that's the game that's going on right now. We do have an update for the Jenga and Imperial game right here in the middle. Jake, what's going on over there right now?
Yeah, with just about 7 minutes left in the second half, Jenga has pulled ahead by a second goal. It's 5-3.
So we got 5-3 over there, just about 6 or 7 minutes left in that one. But here in Grand Rapids Ole versus Lansing City. Taking a look at some of the stats, we had Conrad Gonzalez, goalkeeper for Lansing City, with 4 saves on the day so far. Not a ton of shots from both teams, probably a combined about 12 to 15 chances, maybe 7 or 8 of those on goal. Of course, Grand Rapids with the 3 goals, Lansing City only with 1. And that one coming from Luciano Cernuda early in the game. And he almost had another one, Gerard.
He did. Yeah, he is not someone that doesn't find the back of the net often. He knows how to put it in the back of the net. I'm surprised we haven't seen more from him tonight.
And if you haven't seen yet, there's an amazing highlight of a goal by Luciano Cernuda when Lansing City played Midwest. Jake, just give the viewers that haven't seen that just like the little tidbit version to get them hungry enough to go search that up.
I mean, when you think of highlight reels for sports, this is creme de la creme. I mean, the amount of physical athleticism it takes to pull off this goal is so inspiring. This is the kind of stuff you show your kids at training and say, hey, this is what you want to try and aspire to. Get that ESPN top 10 level of a goal.
So coming back to the action, some teams, Lansing City taking the court, getting ready for the second half. Haven't seen Ole out there quite yet, but just thinking about what we've seen in this game so far. We've seen Conrad Gonzalez for Lansing City in goal. Usually we see Ethan Castaneda start there. We have seen the return of Jack Fisher for Lansing City. They are missing Trezor Crispane and Drew Barney. Drew Barney's been out for a few weeks now. But after that first half, Jake, what do you think those locker rooms are like? What's the message to those teams and how to come into this second half?
I think for Lansing, so much of what makes the dynamic of this team is the young team that is around a couple of veterans like Conrad, like Jeremy Kleppal. So the message from the leaders in that locker room is going to be, boys, stick to this strategy. Let's keep closing down that middle. Let's try and give them the worst shots possible. Even if they do take shots, let's make sure they're easy to clean up. So far, Lansing, despite the scoreline, has done a fairly good job of that. So if they can keep that up and those runs that they've had, and then finding those counterattacks and making most of the shots on the other end. They've made Frankie Mendoza for Olay work a couple of occasions, but I'd like to see them put a few more on frame once they get down there. And don't give up on the runs. I could be critical of anything I've seen so far from the youngsters for Lansing. It's that they're giving up on those back post runs a little early. And there's been a couple opportunities where we're a few meters off and we've missed a possible kick in on the back.
As we take you to the second half kickoff, we are here in Grand Rapids for half number 2. Lansing City and Grand Rapids Olay squaring off. Olay with the 2-goal advantage. They're up 3-1. Looks like we have the wrong scoreboard in there. There it is. Grand Rapids Olay up 3-1, and they will begin the half with a 5th attacker in goal, Jake.
Interesting to start the half off that way. This is a squad that's actually that might be it might be Montez actually, who is their second goalkeeper. Once we see him back in frame, I can confirm that. I just missed him as the play shifted to Lansing in possession here. As Jeremy moves forward and tests him, yeah, that is Montez. So the nice thing for Olay, they are very fortunate. They've got a deep goalkeeper squad here in Grand Rapids. So often we do see Fabian Rodriguez switch his goalkeepers at the half. So Frankie Mendoza taking a break. Very fortunate to have 2 young guys that do really well in between the pipes.
Mendoza with 4 saves in that first half, a good performance, only letting 1 goal in. Lansing City having a couple more opportunities that they could have put away, but they find themselves down 3-1. Here is Olay with a kick in on the far side. It's going to be blocked by Cernuda. That one coming from Sammy Esquivel.
Sammy has had some really great experiences over the offseason. He was called up to the national team during a camp during the World Cup as the futsal national team started prepping for the next cycle. So he is someone who's really seen what could be from some pros and from some internationals. So I'm curious to see how his play develops from last season to this season.
Seeing a high press from Lansing City right here out of the gate. Saltzman screaming back to try to prevent this pass from Sammy Esquivel, but it gets through, and he was looking for a teammate on the back post. You could hear the fans and the bench for Olay as well, disappointed that no one got on the other end of that one.
Some clear frustration from Sammy there. It's a back post run I was recommending for Lansing that was missed there by Olay that time. And unusual that it was from Johan Vasquez, who's played with Sammy for years. So for them to not make that connection is actually a little bit unusual.
Here's Fisher this time, taking his strike at the goal. First time we've seen him get a shot on frame. It's going to be blocked by Andres Montez. Here's a corner for Lansing City, looking for another connection on the chip to Kleppel. This one mishit as well, and it's going to be restarted from the hands of Andres Montez.
Jake, as you notice, Lansing City came out to start the second half with the same lineup they started the game with one exception. They brought in David Saltzman. What could they be thinking there? Why did they bring David in?
Well, I mentioned it in the last stream we did where we followed Lansing City. When you get David Saltzman, you get all of David Saltzman. He puts it all out on the court, and you're down by 2 goals. You want to come out and make a statement in the first half and really set the tone, stamp your game on this play right away. Looks like Sammy's getting a yellow card here. I did see his arm wrapped around the youngster there from Lansing as they were coming down the court, and I think that might have evolved a little bit into what turned into a foul against Jack Fisher. But this team, this Lansing City team, needs someone like a David Saltzman coming out of the half to really set the tone and the pace, and I think that's why we see him on the court to start things off.
I think it's safe to assume Esquivel getting a little handsy there as we see a shot from Kleppel is going to force another great save from Andres Montez. Now Olay will regain possession to chance of Olay from the fans, and Saltzman's going to say that one's not welcome here.
We've mentioned a couple times some of the history of supporters groups in FCS and in other leagues. Ole doesn't necessarily have one, but their youth academies and the parents of these youth academies are very passionate about futsal. When they find out there's a game in town, they show up big, and you can hear the youngsters, and a lot of the guys they're cheering for right here are coaches for these youngsters, so they're going to cheer on their future idols here.
Lido Esquivel with the turn there. He's going to force a save out of Conrad Gonzalez, his 5th of the night. Grand Rapids Ole is going to have their first corner of this half. It's at the foot of Sammy Esquivel.
And speaking of Sammy, Jake, if I'm not mistaken, Sammy had an prestigious honor this year, getting an opportunity to try out for the U.S. men's national team. Is that right?
That's right. Yes, he did. So something we got to kind of touch briefly, but I got a great opportunity to interview Sammy, and we got an article posted on FCS's website about some of his experience at that camp. And he talked about how much it changed not only his understanding of the physical demand to get to that next level, but also really encouraged him as a co-captain on this team to expect more from his players and share in that vision and that drive. And this Ole squad's perfect for that kind of feed. They're not going to take Sammy's drive as a slight or, hey, this guy's demanding too much of us. These guys all rise together. So Sammy going to that camp, getting that experience, understanding what the next level looks like, especially during an off season, during the traditional U.S. futsal season. He learned a lot about himself and what he needs to do for his health and his training.
Oh, Lansing City in trouble here. Speaking of Sammy Esquivel, he was left all alone. He was one-on-one with Conrad Gonzalez, and Gonzalez gets the upper hand.
Great effort from Gonzalez there to keep that out. Sammy is he's got a whole bag of tricks, especially inside the arc. So great for Conrad not to fall for any of them. Nice little back heel there from Sammy, but right into the chest of Conrad and out of bounds.
Corner kick now for Ole. Certainly something Lansing City will need to clean up. Can't give Sammy Esquivel that kind of space inside the arc. Here is Johan Vasquez playing with J.R. Real. Well, that one going far post. Even that was Cesar Martinez with that strike going just wide. Lansing City restarts from the back. Kleppel hits the court, and that's Sammy Esquivel already on a yellow.
Yeah, he will have to be careful the rest of this game. That was a pretty reckless foul. Not in a dangerous area. There's no reason for it. He's lucky that he didn't get another yellow.
Shot here off the left foot of Kleppel is going to go over the bar. Last touch by Grand Rapids Ole. Lansing City with the kick. It's Elijah Vu. Little chip to Kleppel. The half volley off the bar. Is it in? No. It's coming the other way for Ole. Will they capitalize? Not on the watch of Conrad Gonzalez. Turning that strike from Adrian Diaz aside. And we have a corner from Ole. Wow, Gerard, we've seen that chip from a corner to Kleppel more than once, and he's been very close. And we see Ole do it here, and they capitalize. Cesar Alayo, goal number 4 for Grand Rapids Ole.
What a sequence of events in this game. I mean, first of all, the best goal that never was from Jeremy. I can't believe that didn't go in. And then the exchange and the counterattack. Conrad with an amazing save to put it on the corner, but ultimately a set piece for Ole. That's where they're most comfortable, and they make the most of it. 4-1.
That 20-second sequence is why I love futsal. What a sequence. The emotion, the intensity. We don't see goals scored on the first 2 shots. Another outrageous shot by Kleppel. We don't see goals. We see a save. We see it hitting the pipes, and then we see a great play off of a corner for a goal.
Here is Kleppel again. He's with Elijah Vu. Back to Kleppel. Kleppel with some space. Shot inside. It's going to be blocked by his own pivot, Jonah Timblow. There in the middle. Now here comes Josh Robeson. Now Vu trying to get by his defender towards the end line. Unable to do so. And now here's Kleppel. Left-footed strike. That one's deflected. Olay coming the other way. Defenders for Lansing City coming back. Ends in a strike from Urbano Romero for Olay. That one going just wide. And Gerard, it's starting to get loud here in the homeschool building.
It sure is. And over the last couple of minutes, we've seen quite a few changes from Lansing City. Jake, what do you make of making 3 substitutions right after that last goal?
There's a couple different things we might be looking at here, either a shift in play style or, maybe just an opportunity to put in some shorter shifts. The game's starting to get a little bit out of reach, 3 goals away, but there's still a lot of time in this game. That's not a safe score line under any other condition. As Diaz goes down, it looks like with a little bit of a pull in his knee, but looks like he's going to stay in this one. But looked like a young outfit there for the 3 switch, wrapped around Jeremy as kind of the anchor there at the fixo. So maybe putting in some fresh legs and trying to run this court a bit.
And Vu with some space, a left-footed strike. It's going to go high and wide. Great chance for him, his best of the night. It's going to end in a keeper restart from Andres Montes. Here's a kick in for Olay. They're on their 3rd of the 4 count. Chip over to Lito Esquivel. Pressured hard by Lansing City. David Saltzman pressuring Sammy Esquivel. Trying to win the ball for Lansing, and he does. Now a chip in the direction of Kleppel. He brings it across half. He's got 1 on him. Looking into Jack Fisher in the pivot spot. Unable to control that one. It came with a lot of pace from the foot of Kleppel. $13:25 to go here in the game. Jack Fisher's going to get whistled for that one. Second foul of the half for Lansing City. Both teams with 2 fouls now.
Hey, stay here, stay here. 1-on-1 there. Stay here. Jump over it. Get ready.
Olay restarts on the far side.
That way, Daniel, that way.
Back to Lito Esquivel. Now on the near side. Fisher standing him up. Looking for space down the sideline. Going to win a kick in for Olay. Here's Sammy Esquivel. Gets some space. Great near post strike. Save from Conrad Gonzalez.
I think if I'm Lansing, the only thing I'd really adjust at this point that sticks out the most to me is taking shots early like that. Let's keep pressing the ball forward. Let's get up and help on these counters, get an extra man forward to create that one other opportunity for a pass to penetrate a little further. And did a great job getting past Lito there, and then took a shot maybe a little prematurely. A lot of time for Montez to see that through and make the save.
Sammy Esquivel going again down the sideline. Not able to beat Luciano Cernuda. It'll be restarted by Conrad Gonzalez in the back.
Is that Coach Gomez right there? Is that Coach Gomez?
High pressure from Olay, winning the ball. Now looking to get inside the arc. That was Danny Diaz, thwarted by David Saltzman, but it will end in a Grand Rapids Olay corner. Here is Sammy Esquivel. Lansing City win it. Saltzman has Cernuda. Slide coming from the back. Danny Diaz. Certainly, I thought for sure was going to enter the book for that one.
I did too. I'm really surprised. So the referee is off screen right now, but it does not seem like his partner is notating anything either. So I don't think that we did see a caution there.
Very dangerous sliding tackle from behind there. It's going to result in a kick from Kleppel at the top of the arc. He slams it. Great save, Andres Montes, saving that one from Jeremy Kleppel. We've said it before on this broadcast. Shots like that are the reason why you have to be a little bit nuts to be in goal in the game of futsal. Cernuda a little too casual with it here on the near side. Doesn't quite give it away, but it is a kick for Lansing City. They're still under pressure, and they do end up giving it away. What opportunity will Olay create here? They get a corner. This one comes to Lito Esquivel. Faced up by Saltzman. Now to Sammy Esquivel. Ooh, a nice slide from Fisher there to disrupt the possession, but Olay continues with this one. And we've seen this a lot, and Jake, I'm sure you've seen this a lot too. When Grand Rapids Olay takes a kick on the sideline, they often have their first player kind of run over the ball.
Yeah, we talked about the set pieces for Olay and how important it is to their strategy and their style, particularly on kick-ins, and they've got a ton of bag of tricks, one of them being that set the ball down, run away, let the second kicker take it. It's something that is practiced often as a set-piece routine from a kick-in, and so this is a great example of it, and then creating space, hopefully pulling a defender away and creating an opportunity elsewhere. If not, then you got a chance for a quick 1-2 to generate something right off that line. And guys, if I can jump in quickly with an update from Cincinnati, we do have a final. Imperial was able to find the net one more time, but ultimately Jenga coming away with a victory 7-5. They will be winning their first match of the weekend.
So Jenga has their revenge, and Detroit Imperial with their first loss of the year. Here's an opportunity for Olay. A sliding tackle from Kleppel breaks up that attack. Looked to be, I think that was Chris Mendez turning nearly with a one-on-one opportunity, and Fisher's going to hit the ground. Olay is upset about it, but the official's going to get that number 19, Adrian Diaz, on the far side. A little extra push of the arm to get some space. That's going to be foul number 4 for Grand Rapids Olay.
I mentioned the first half, Olay sometimes has a bad habit of getting themselves into unnecessary foul trouble, particularly even when they're ahead. And it creates unnecessary pressure sometimes. So if I'm Lansing, I want to keep this pressure on and keep pushing these guys and pushing the intensity, maybe catch them late in a tackle, find them in a silly foul just like that one, and maybe, just maybe, we get a couple freebies from the 10-meter mark.
Cernuda turning again on that one. We've seen him do so well at that. But that attack going nowhere. Lansing City are going to recollect on the far side with 10 minutes to go in half number 2.
Jake, I do think one of the things that Lansing City is missing here with Crespin is the hold-up play that he brings to the pivot.
Hold the phone. Bad giveaway by Lansing there is going to force Robeson to come back. Disappointing result for Ethan Jansen and Grand Rapids Olay on that one.
And Olay fans, it sounds.
It certainly does. They were unhappy with that result. Thought that they should have seen another goal for their club, but instead Lansing City on the attack. Coupled with some space, he takes a strike, but the middle is clogged up by number 17. And it's going to be a Lansing City kicking near the corner.
Jake, you were mentioning this earlier that a lot of these shots from Lansing City are coming early and they're not finding that extra pass, and it's one of the things that I think that Chris Payne's so great at is holding up play, finding that extra pass, setting up not only himself but his team to get better opportunities.
So much of a pivot's job, and we see it here right now in action, is being able to stand up that ball and create a chance for the rest of your team to catch up with the play. When I think of futsal, some of the greatest moments in futsal is that natural battle between a pivot and a fixo. And you can play the pivot in a couple different ways, but in all scenarios, it's important for that pivot to be strong, to have heads-up play, and that's something that Chris Payne does a really, really nice job of, and you see it here. Unfortunately, as we're watching here, it looks like Conrad might have got caught before a second violation.
Yeah, that's going to be a 4-second call on Conrad For those of you unfamiliar with this rule, as a keeper, if you are possessing the ball at your feet or in your hands in the defending half, you only have 4 seconds to get rid of it. And in that case, he was possessing the ball for longer than 4 seconds, so it's a turnover. And play from Olay. He's going to leave it for number 17, who we don't have on our roster sheet. His strike not going to go anywhere. Lansing City now with an opportunity. Elijah Vu in the middle, just a few meters out of the arc. Unable to capitalize on that opportunity.
That was a great example of what we're talking about right there. Timblow does a great job holding up play as well when he's in that pivot role. So let's look for more of that.
Kleppel under pressure here, looking for the ball to go out. It does. Defended by Adrian Diaz there. Ball comes into Elijah Vu. He goes back to Kleppel, still under that high pressure from Diaz. Now to the near side. Elijah Vu takes a touch inside. He's got a step, looks for a left-footed strike. And unfortunately, that's been how his shots have gone all day today. Somewhat wild from him. As Andres Montes looks to play quickly up to the pivot. I think it was Adrian Diaz who was up there. It's going to win Olay a kick from the side and a strike. Coming out of that one, another save from Conrad Gonzalez, and he's been called on 5 times already this half to make saves. Just over 8 minutes to go in the half. Olay with a 4-1 advantage and possession of the ball. Looking comfortable in the attacking half. Now Lansing City forcing them to go backwards. And they do win a kick here. Lansing City. A couple of substitutions coming on for them. We can hear the coach calling for players. We see Jack Fisher enter the game, David Saltzman enter the game for Lansing City. Jonah Timblow and Jeremy Kleppel rounding out their lineup tonight, currently on the court. Now here comes Olay. Handling the pressure from Lansing City without too much trouble. But the continuous pressure, certainly an annoyance at a minimum for Olay.
That's important, though.
Absolutely is. One of the key things to keep in mind when defending in futsal is accelerating the game. How can you make the game faster for the attacking team to minimize the amount of time they have to play and to think? And that pressure, as we were talking about a little bit earlier, Gerard, Olay was doing it in the first half. It's not always a high pressure to win the ball, but it's a high pressure to minimize the amount of time that's on the ball and make the other team a little bit uncomfortable.
Hey, Rep, does that count for yes.
Yeah, it's one of the things that's really important in futsal is applying the appropriate amount of pressure for the situation. And one of the things that Lansing City wants to do right now is to limit the options for Olay and win the ball back. So putting that pressure on, as we see, Olay gets an opportunity but cannot connect on the pass.
You guys got 3, not 4. He says 3. Yeah, not 4. They got 4.
It sounds like what we're hearing right now, courtside, is a disagreement over the foul count.
Yeah, I think the foul count that we had on the screen was not what was in the referee's pocketbook. And currently now the way it sits, Lansing City with 4 and Olay with 3, this appears to be the correct number. With just over 6 minutes to go.
But the thing that's interesting about it, we are not there, but that is wrong because there were 4 fouls, and I could recount them all for you if you like right now, because we had the yellow card caution to Sammy Esquivel, and then Sammy also had another foul with the shoulder push on to Kleppel, and then we had the breakaway from Saltzman, and then towards the left-hand side of the court, there was another foul as well, which was the most recent one.
I think that one was against Jack Fisher. He went to the ground on that one, I think.
Yep, against Jack Fisher. And so that's 4 right there. And so I'm not sure why they're confused and why they would be missing that. But that's 4 fouls against Olay that should be in the books right now. So let's hope that we don't see them get more and have a controversial PK situation.
And here's a shot from Kleppel. It's going to force a save from Andres Montes.
This dude always leaving his feet.
It's going to be a corner for Lansing City. 5.5 to go. They're down 3. Much more of a low-scoring game than the game they just played against Midwest United. That one ending 10-12. But here's Kleppel with some space, trying to go to his left, but his shot is blocked. We've seen Olay do that many times tonight. Kleppel usually with enough space to get away a shot, but blocked by one of the defenders in the area.
Number 17 be driving.
One of the things that continues to surprise me about this incredible game of futsal is the level of excitement that the fans bring. You can see it here. It's standing room only here in Grand Rapids.
What?
Yeah, that's one of the exciting things about Grand Rapids is their fan base. I'm so sorry, Jared, but I've come up to Grand Rapids to watch a match myself a couple years ago, and this is how their fan base has always been. And for critical moments like this against a tough team like Lansing, when they come to town, the fans show up and turn this place into a fortress when it matters the most. So good on them.
Fisher. Sorry to cut you off there, Jake. Fisher with an opportunity, and we are getting word that the foul correction was actually incorrect. So the way that the scorekeeper had it was correct originally, 4-3. Then another foul by Grand Rapids Olay becomes 5 fouls. So they are on the verge of giving away a 6-foul penalty kick. Any ensuing fouls will be a shot for Lansing City from that mark. And we're going to have our first timeout of the half.
You have to wonder right there, the play before that, Jack Fisher had an interesting opportunity at the top of the arc, and it looked like there might have been a potential foul. Jeremy Kleppel did voice some frustration on it. I did think that it was possibly a foul. If we didn't already have 5 fouls, I think it absolutely would have been. And I think at this point the referees are starting to take that into consideration of if there is a foul call, it's going to be a PK, and we want to make sure that that's a clear foul and not something that's controversial.
So we take a break for this timeout. I want to remind you that today's match is brought to you by Ally Marketing. If you are a business looking for a growth partner, Ally Marketing can be that friend for you. Ally Marketing is changing the experience for business owners, partnering with marketing companies. It's a marketing company that feels more like a friend. To learn more, go to allymarketing.us. That's ALLY marketing.us. Ally Marketing, the official marketing partner of the FCS. Ally Marketing, let's be friends.
As we talked about the fan base inside of this building, homeschool building, but I also want to address our fans on the stream. We've had some great turnouts on stream. The futsal community is alive and well in the Midwest, and we've had some really great turnouts in numbers, and we appreciate all you guys here, especially working through some of the technical difficulties as we stream. But, man, you guys are what make this sport so special, and thank you for being here.
Meanwhile, Lansing City squandering their corner kick coming right out of a timeout. Hate to see that on the Lansing City side, having all that time to create something of value from the corner just to end up wasting it. But they are going to retain possession in a kick-in near half. Official calling Jeremy Kleppel over. Apparently the ball went out much sooner than he expected. So it's going to be all the way up here in the attacking half. A little chip in. Elijah Vu is there. Cernuda is there. But nothing for Lansing City. They just maintain the possession. We'll see what they can get started here with 4 minutes to go. Ball coming into the middle. Nothing there. Now it's coming the other way, Adrian Diaz and Olay. nearly going out of bounds, saved by Luis Ramirez. Olay keeping possession. Adrian Diaz back to Ramirez. Sprinting down the sideline there. Defended well by Lansing City. It's going to be restarted from the hands of Gonzalez.
Really important in these last 4 minutes for Lansing to keep that press on. I know that legs are going to be heavy at this point in the game, but so important for these guys to understand and push forward and try and force some more mistakes from Olay in a foul perspective if they want to get a little bit of a change in the pace of this game. Right now, Olay keeping their own pressure on as Conrad has to come up with another big save on the near post. But this is going to be so critical to these last 3.5 minutes and how this game plays out and what that scoreline looks like.
3.5 to go. Olay with the 3-goal advantage. 3 goals can be deceiving in futsal, just enough to feel like you have the game under wraps, but not enough for it to be truly out of reach. This game can turn so quickly. And as you were mentioning, Jake, just 1 foul from Olay can result in a 6-foul penalty, and that could cut the margin to 2 as we see Cernuda colliding with the goalkeeper here. A shot from him is going to be wide. Excuse me, that was Elijah Vu on the far side. With 2:55 to go in this game. Couple of little counterattack here. Cernuda with a strike. He's going to force a save out of Andres Montes. It's eventually going to go over the end line and be restarted by Montes.
I think a lot back to that game against Midwest at home for Lansing and how they were able to make that momentum swing with a spectacular goal and then turning around and getting a penalty kick shortly after. That's what these 10-meter mark penalties could mean to Lansing if they can figure out a way to apply enough pressure to make a silly mistake by Olay that, worst case scenario, if you don't get a goal out of that silly mistake, at least get a foul and get that second opportunity.
That shot from Fisher is going to be touched last by Grand Rapids Olay, so Lansing City will have a corner with 2:23 to go. Cernuda finds the back of the net for the second time tonight. Goal number 2, Lansing City is down by 2 goals.
That's just a fantastic example of great teamwork. Luciana and Jack Fisher, they actually play together and have played together for quite some time now, and you can see it on the court. They know where each other are going.
So we almost have the momentum killer coming from Adrian Diaz there. Lansing City escapes with no goals given up in that one. Can they capitalize on this new life? Only 2 goals down with 2 minutes left. Certainly not an insurmountable task by any stretch of the imagination. And certainly not with 81 on the court for Lansing City. Here is Saltzman finding some space. He gets stopped stone cold by Lito Esquivel. Going the other way. Trouble for Lansing City. Conrad Gonzalez is there. Luis Ramirez was on the attack for Olay, trying to put this game away for the Grand Rapids side, unable to do so.
It's really great to see Saltzman not give up on that. He was dispossessed in the middle of the field, but he tracked back. He made sure to make full effort, as Jake would tell us, as he always does.
Ooh, and this one, again, Cernuda looking for his hat trick. He had a great opportunity from Fisher there. It's going to result in a corner for Lansing City. Shot from Kleppel. It's going to find the far post, back of the net. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a 1-goal game with 64 seconds to go. Excuse me, 74 seconds to go.
Can I say it? Can I say it? Momentum. There it is for Lansing. We talk about jokingly some of the words we use over and over in these streams and in these commentaries, but look at what it means and how the flow of a game happens. And now we see Lansing scoring 2 goals fairly quickly with just over a minute to go. This game is very much in hand.
And here's Saltzman. He has some space. Touch inside, trickles all the way to goalkeeper Andres Montes. Back to Lansing City, under a minute to go. Lansing down by 1. Strike from Kleppel, sliding save. Number 4, Danny Diaz on that one.
And so we've talked about this a number of times in the game. They've been leaving the middle of the court open, 1v1 situations against Kleppel. Right there, the left ala on the outside drifted in to help protect the goal. So it's interesting to see if they're going to switch up how they're going to defend Jeremy at the top.
Montez looking to go deep to their pivot, but it's going to find its way to Lansing City. Here's Cernuda, 30 seconds to go. Lansing City looking for one more. Ole trying to hold on. Kleppel dispossessed by Esquivel. It goes the other way. Esquivel 1v1 with the keeper. A save from Conrad Gonzalez. Lansing City still alive. Here's Cernuda, 1v2. He goes to the court. No call. Lansing City screaming for some kind of foul. Saltzman came in late there. Both sides screaming. Kleppel's going to commit that foul. It's going to be number 4 for Lansing City. 4 seconds to go. Lansing City clearly upset. And out of frame. Now we see it there. Looks like there was some.
There's a lot of frustration on why they did not call the foul. It looked like a foul. It would have been a PK. It's a situation as an official we talked about earlier in the game. It's a tough call to make that 6th foul call. It was a breakaway opportunity, though.
That's 5 for each, Rob.
Could have won the game right there.
Could have been the difference.
Lansing is 5.
It was tough to see the whole play, but from our point of view, it certainly looked like it deserved a whistle. As the final seconds, Ole trying to waste them, and they do, and they're going to sneak away with a W in this one, coming out on top 4-3 over the likes of Lansing City. Wow, a lot of action in the last few minutes in that one, Jake.
Yeah, that was really insane at the end, but it's clear how important these games are to these guys. You know, this is what we've got in the U.S. as far as the top tier is concerned, and so these guys are treating it that way. They have a lot of passion about it, and you know, you see at the end everybody throwing their entire bodies on the line. You know, I agree with you guys. That might have been a missed call there in the corner. That David Saltzman slide in the follow-up wasn't ideal either. Very late and created a lot of drama that we saw off camera. But then the tactical foul by Jeremy, seeing the time on the court and you know, knowing he has a foul to give, very smart. So even through all that and all the noise that's going on everywhere else on the court, we see our true leaders emerge in a lot of great ways. You see a guy like Lito Esquivel, who, you know, certainly having a say about what happened to his players, but being very calm, cool, collected about it. These are guys who have been around the game for a long time, have known each other for a long time. And you saw their true character there at the end, not letting that get out of hand. That could have very easily been nasty anywhere else. But these are two very classy sides. I give them a lot of credit for dealing with that intensity at the end of the game the way they did, especially a 1-goal difference game there like that.
Certainly raises the stakes when it's such a close game. And just to speak to what you mentioned, particularly from Lito Esquivel and Jeremy Kleppel, these two players actually have spent time on the same team for a few years. And actually, there was a period of time when I was a player for Lansing City, and I played with both of them on Lansing City. And so they've been around the game for a while, as you mentioned, and they certainly have that kind of poise and character to lead their team, as we saw tonight. Grand Rapids Ole with the 4-3 advantage. Gerard, we saw 2 goals from Lansing City in the last 3 minutes of that one.
Yeah, really surprising we didn't see more. And it really goes down to the way that they played. They took a lot of shots on goal, and it was really similar outcome as the Jenga game. So, and when they played Jenga, there was just an incredible amount of shots on goal, but they couldn't find the back of the net, and we had a lot of the same tonight. You know, when it got late in the game, they were able to bury some of those chances, but again, they were still taking them from deep. And so Kleppel buried that shot, but it was from outside the arc. And how can they find more opportunities to get better options inside the arc and find themselves in a better position to put the ball into the back of the net?
You know, something that I thought was interesting, Jake, in this one, it seemed like Lansing City didn't have the same energy as they did last game until those last few minutes.
Is that the difference between playing on your home court and having to travel? Grand Rapids to Lansing in the grand scheme of what the travel demands of this league are. Not the longest trip in the world, but certainly an impact. How did these guys prep for the game that we don't see on camera, and how did that impact their input? What you got to plan around the travel time. You're going to a hostile environment as well. This is not an easy place to play. Homeschool building is a very intimate place, echoes, a lot of fans in the building. I don't think we hear enough on stream to give this building credit for how it really sounds. And the reality is over the last few years, as Olay Futsal Club's changed venues once or twice, no matter where they go, this crowd is a big part of the aspect. So suddenly that big crowd that was for you when you played Midwest United is against you because you're playing at Olay. That's certainly going to make a difference on the mindset, and there's just that little bit of extra noise you got to put out of your head to focus on the game.
We're going to take a look at the standings and go over some stats in just a minute, but before we do that, just want to let you know what's coming up for the FCS. So that first one right there, that was the game that we just saw right now. But outside of that, it's Jinga, FS, and Grand Rapids Olay are going to square off tomorrow at 3 p.m. So two teams that played tonight. Jake, they're turning right around and playing tomorrow in Cincinnati.
Yeah, tough task. They're going to be there with less players than they had tonight. I'm looking ahead to the team. I got a sneak peek at the roster. Some returning players like Lito and Sammy Esquivel. Danny Diaz is hitting the road. Guys that were a really big part of this game tonight. They will be missing Frankie in between the pipes, but Montez, who finished out the game for them, will be there. Josh Pierce sliding in as their backup keeper. A little different look. A big drive from Western Michigan all the way to Southern Ohio. From one river to another. We're going to go from either side of the league, from the Grand River to the Ohio River. So curious to see how they manage this. They've made the trip before in years past. A lot of veterans I'm seeing in this lineup for the trip. I would not say that that's really going to hurt them as much as the physical demands of today versus tomorrow.
And also, next week, we are going to see Week 7, the lone game for Week 7. As we transition here to our studio shot again, the lone game for Week 7 going to be Jinga again hosting Midwest United. So Jinga, is that going to be their last home game, Jake?
It is, as a matter of fact, guys. Jinga has got a very heavy front-loaded schedule for home matches. They'll be traveling for the beginning of 2025. So they're really going to be looking to get the results at home between tomorrow and next week. Jinga turning out to be a very tough place to play. No one has beaten them on their home court yet. A little bit different circumstances tomorrow as they are at the Flock, but on a different court floor that's going to be a little smaller dimensions than we're used to seeing them play on. Just a one-off. So the question there is, how does Jinga handle that on top of how does Olay handle that? They've been training for the big court. They've been training for this match at home. Now they have to travel to a place that's a little bit different court dimensions. And then Jinga, of course, too, under similar circumstances, but in a building at least they're familiar with. So curious to see how that plays out. Then closing out the year against a tough Midwest United that's putting up some solid results and scoring a lot of goals in the last few games. So they'll really have a challenge there to close out the year.
That one's going to be kickoff at 8 p.m. on December 21st, Saturday. Just a few stats. Conrad Gonzalez for Lansing City, 10 saves on the night. On the other side, Andres Montez with 6 saves in the second half. Frankie Mendoza was the goalkeeper in half number 1. He had 4 to his name. We saw, Gerard, you mentioned a lot of shots from Lansing City, 28 shots tonight. And keep in mind, when we're doing these stats, it's just us here doing stats. So we miss some. We're not the most accurate because we're doing 50 things at once sometimes, it feels like. But 28 shots, I think it's not a stretch of the imagination that Lansing City had about 30 shots tonight.
Yeah, they had a lot of shots. And they put themselves in good positions, but it was so deep. And that's one of the problems, and it's the same thing we saw against Jinga, that we were taking those opportunities too far away. And it was more difficult than it needed to be. And it's one of the things that I think they really missed Chris Payne and his hold-up play. And we saw Timblow on the goal. We saw one of the goals. We saw him hold up play, create the opportunity, and put it in. And it's one of the things that I would have liked to have seen more of that. And I think when Jinga and Olay come together, it's going to be really interesting to see how they play, because they both have a similar defensive mentality. And I think the smaller court's actually going to play to Jinga's favor.
Something else that I'm very interested to see, Lansing City, I don't think they've had, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Jake, but I don't think they've had one game this year at full strength. They've been missing Drew Barney. I think he played in one game, and I think he's nursing an injury right now. They were out without Drew and Jack in the first game. That game against Midwest, I think, is when they had Drew Barney, but they were missing, I think, Trezor maybe not been in that game. And also, not that that's a throwaway game, but every game this year, Midwest has lost by nearly double digits. So take that for what it is. But in these other games, tonight they were without Trezor Crispane, without Drew Barney. So I'm really excited to see what happens when this Lansing City squad has all its pieces together.
Yeah, listen, if I'm a Lansing fan, I am not too disappointed in tonight's result or the results in general. You think about not only some of the missing pieces or the shuffle of the deck with the roster to start this season, but also you think about the results as a whole. Lansing's not lost a game by more than 2 goals at any point during the season. They've been in every single match. This is a very young team. I'd be extremely excited if I was a Lansing fan about the future of this club, because you're really watching it right now develop in front of your very eyes. And the fact that these young men are in these matches with grown men that have been playing for years, I give them a ton of kudos. And guys, for anybody at home that was too biased with my Olay shirt, I do have City. Hang on, let me get my mirrored angle right. I do have City on underneath. I do represent and respect both these clubs immensely, and I love what I'm seeing out of the Lansing side. The leadership there is strong. It's very clear. Seeing Jeremy's posture on the court, seeing how these young guys listen and pour into him. A guy like Robinson, like Gerard mentioned earlier, is somewhat new to futsal, taking that direction, learning from someone with a very unique resume in our sport in the United States. Conrad and his leadership on the court as well, in between the pipes. These are the guys that are going to develop these youngsters and make this Lansing side really, really interesting. If not this season, with a lot of season to go, definitely a team to watch in the future.
One of the things, we've shared a few ways that Lansing City might have improved or might have done different, but really credit to Olay. Lansing City did play great, but Olay just had a great system in place designed to stop Lansing City. And they did a really good job, and Olay gets a lot of the credit for the win here. With Lansing City, they had a lot of encouraging things to take away from the game as well. So they did play really well, Jake. I think that's a great assessment. It's a place to be proud of the work that they've done. And to see, one of the things that I did really enjoy is to see that positionless style of play. And they implemented it really well. They, down by 1 at the end of the game, and to completely overhaul the system you played over the first 3 games in this game, and to walk away that competitive, that says a lot.
Taking a lot of big steps, and Olay taking a big step for them tonight as well, getting their first win in the FCS. Jake, what did you like about the play we saw from Olay tonight?
I have a massive amount of respect for Coach Fabian Rodriguez. He is an absolute mastermind when it comes to managing a team, managing personalities, managing the play, but also trusting his guys to get the job done. Fabian's a guy that you do hear during the game, but he's not someone that's constantly shouting and barking orders. He gave his orders during the week. He trusts his guys on game day, and it clearly shows with the way that this team handles their business. You see that if you were there in person for a game, you can actually hear and see that these guys manage their own subs as well. This is a very full unit. So again, for Lansing to get the result they did tonight is huge with the young squad against a team that's very, very familiar with each other. But we talked about some of the absences on the Lansing roster. It's only game 2 for Olay. There's a lot of season left to see these guys, but we've not even seen all of the star players that have come out of Olay yet this season. We're missing the likes of TJ Ifas so far this season, Jonathan Stout, and a couple others as well. But those are a couple names right off the top of my head that I know we've not seen that are going to make a major impact on Olay's results within FCS.
And it does make me very excited. It just seems like this year as the FCS, we taking this big step. We've talked about this before. First year the FCS has gone to this full season schedule, home and away for each team, these 6 teams that are in the FCS. And it's like each week, each game, it's just like it's building, right? We talk about players that are missing and players that are going to affect the game later and teams trying new things. Doesn't just make you excited for what's to come.
It sure does. And it's one of the things that Jake talked about, if you don't have the opportunity to go to the game or what it's like there. If you have a chance, go to one of these games, and encourage you to go to multiple locations, because it's really interesting to see At the game there in Grand Rapids, the fans, standing room only, there's a lot of excitement, a lot of energy there. It's just like that in the Lansing City Arena as well. I'm looking forward to opportunities to get out and go to some of these other games as well, and some of the other arenas and stadiums. This is really a fantastic atmosphere.
Guys, when you go to a game like this, it's not just the atmosphere and the uniqueness of the intimacy of a crowd this size compared to maybe a big crowd at a pro game, but you're also supporting a local club and you're also supporting grassroots growth of a sport. It's not just about futsal at that point. It's about the culture and your community. And none of these games are more expensive than $10 a game to come in and watch to support your team. I think that's a small price to pay for a really great culture that we have here within FCS. We're very fortunate to have the teams we do in the places that we do. And I'm so thankful for the fans we've seen so far through the stream online as well as in person. You are really missing out if you're not a part of it.
It has been an exciting season thus far. We're only almost through week 6, I believe. Yes, this is week 6. We're almost through week 6. Week 7, of course, starts next week, and then we're going to be, I think we're off until the new year. Is that right, Jake? Next week's game, and then...
Yeah, it's actually not as short of a break as you'd expect. We've got our game on the 21st, Jenga hosting, and then we see right after the new year on January 4th, we're back in action. So... the way that the holidays are falling midweek this year, a lot of teams just chomping at the bit to continue play, keep things moving. And so Midwest will be hosting their next game at Aquinas College to start off 2025. They'll be taking on Detroit Imperial, who'll be looking to bounce back from their loss tonight.
So Lansing City will move to 1-0-3, and Grand Rapids Olay 1-1-0. So they are still undefeated. They tied Midwest United in their first game. So they're unbeaten. We had Detroit Imperial fall tonight. They lost to Jenga in that first game. That was a 7-5 victory for Jenga. So they take their revenge, and Detroit Imperial is no longer unbeaten. So that's how tonight wraps up. And that's how we're going to end it here in Lansing and also over there in Ohio. It's not too far to Ohio. It's just like, I don't know, maybe 500 pixels that way.
It's one graphic away.
One graphic away. And we can change that next time. And we'll bring it even closer. Give me a
state border in there, Jared. It'll look really legit.
There you go. So that's going to do it from us here. And if you made it this far in the broadcast, thank you so much for taking it all the way to the very end. And we'll just give you a special fist pound for sticking all the way to the end and through all that we have to say, all the three of us here. I'm Jared Kleppel along with Gerard Ascani and Jake George over there in Ohio. Thanks so much for tuning in to FCS Lives tonight. We will see you in the next one. Good night.